On this episode of Sound Waves, Anita Jung from the Jung Wellness Institute. She's a licensed psychotherapist and has been working with musicians and people in the entertainment industry for over 20 years. She serves as the president for the American Society of Clinical Hypnosis and is the president of the Central Texas Society of Hypnosis. And I'm looking forward to sharing her with you and discussing her new book that comes out when we come back. How's it going, guys? Good to see you. And yeah, I'm really happy to bring Anita Jung to the show here. So without further ado, let's bring Anita on and introduce her to you guys. There she is. Anita, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Excellent. That's great. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack here, and I want to unpack it with you now. How did you get started with psychotherapy?
I like to say that psychotherapy found me in a way that I didn't wake up one morning and said, I'm going to be a psychotherapist, or that it would have been my deepest desire. I was working with, how you call them, intellectually challenged youth and adults at some time, and I really loved it. And when I came here, I couldn't quite do the same thing with them as I could in Germany. So I decided to go back to school and basically get a master's in psychotherapy, and then I could do more of that. But in the meantime, I had to be in certain practicums, and that's when I found the love for psychotherapy. So I always say psychotherapy found me. I wasn't looking for it.
So with psychotherapy, and you're involved with, I guess it's trance, you're calling it?
I like to call it trance. We are always in a different state of certain awareness when we tune into ourselves. In hypnosis, we call that state trance. Could call it an altered state of awareness. Many different things. It's not its own therapy. It's just a tool to use so people can get into spaces where it's more favorable to experience better results or changes.
So how can people use it? How can listeners or viewers use it in dealing with the challenges of today, especially here we are at the end of the year? It's been an unbelievable year as far as challenges go. How can they use, can you give tips on a practical?
I think the most important thing would probably really, first of all, believing in an opportunity to change, right? We're in the midst of an pandemic, in the midst of uncertainty, and we are confined to a different way of inhabiting our world, right? We spend more time at home. We can't meet with people. Musicians cannot play out. So you're really confined to operating in a different way, which opened up the path of a lot of different opportunities. So the belief in the opportunity for change is very important. And I think one of the things that I like to think of, using that metaphor, when the ground turns to water, what do? You swim. If you can swim, you use a life raft or anything else you can hang on to, which is important. And if you can wake up every morning and experience that little opening that happens before you start your day, before you become conscious of the worries and the concerns or making plans, and in the morning, that small little opening, if you can hold that open a bit longer and hold that space to move into the day, I think that's a first change. And that it's being aware of the mattress you're sleeping on, being aware of the cover that you feel on your body, being aware of the temperature on your skin, so that you can move yourself back into the present moment, which is where everything really happens, right? Tomorrow really doesn't exist, because the minute you think about tomorrow, the minute tomorrow happens, it's already the present moment.
Well, worrying about tomorrow, is sort of the soup du jour, for a lot of people. I mean, without getting political, the stimulus package, right? When's the money going to get here? It should have been. I'm blown away that it wasn't here before Christmas Day, and now it just seems like it's never going to happen. Just broken promises being strung along, like we are, and many people. So people get wrapped up in tomorrow. I could totally relate to the getting wrapped up in tomorrow that doesn't exist, and I guess even from a psychologically social standpoint, just the thought that something isn't going to go right, you're almost creating that to happen instead of staying in the moment where the moment is happening. But do you agree with that? Where, like, if I think, oh, this bad thing is going to happen, this A, B, and C is going to happen, or A hasn't happened, so now that's going to cause B to happen, like being late on rent or whatever it is. I'm almost creating that. I'm throwing energy in that direction. Whereas if I woke up in the morning and allowed myself to feel the gravity of my body in the mattress and breathe in, going into the breath, feeling it going into my lungs and out, like just really being present, maybe I wouldn't create the future. I'm more in a place of pause, I guess. Does that sound like
That
something that
sounds
makes
right.
sense?
And it is very difficult when you face stressful situations, financial stresses. I mean, that is very difficult. And yet there's really nothing you can change in that moment, right? It'll still be there if you just give yourself the gift of time, maybe just spending 10, 15 minutes being tuned into yourself, being tuned into nature, because that concern is still going to be there in 15 minutes. But in those 15 minutes, you can at least feel a little bit better, feel a little bit whole, feel a little bit lighter, so that you can then make plans on how to address the financial concerns. People
Yeah.
have gotten very creative doing podcasts, doing interviews just like you're doing right now. So there are opportunities. It's just hard to see when you're in the midst of a crisis and when you're just worrying about it.
So, in dealing with creatives, you deal with musicians and people in the entertainment industry. You're involved with the Recording Academy, with Musicares, which is the other side of the Grammys. And so, working with them, uh, how do you work with them? You've been doing this for over 20 years and tapping into their creativity. Like, how do you work with them as far as that goes?
So, well, Music Care is the charity organization of the Grammys. So they provide amazing opportunities for musicians. So they have support group, recovery groups for musicians and people in the music industry. And they are in the cities where there are a lot of musicians, such as LA, Los Angeles, Austin, Nashville, New York City, New Orleans, and I think one is in Fort Collins, Colorado. So those happens once a week, and they do also a lot of different podcasts and webinars, which is pretty amazing. And then I also work with musicians individually in private practice. And I think what's important for them is what I have to think about: how is it that I can engage their own creative state in a way? And musicians already know how to experience trance, that different form of being in the world, right? When they're on stage, when they write music, you know that you're a musician, and and I do believe that a good trance, for instance, involves elements of music, elements of rhythm, elements of a different way you engage language. For instance, like poetry or songwriting is a different way. And I have to be in that creative state myself in order to tune into the musician's creative state. And And I help them to not rigidly hold on to the words they might be speaking, or the problem state, or the old beliefs of a problem state and the problem language that they bring into a session. So I basically have to just hold that space for them and not get hypnotized by their words, right? Because then I would not be effective. And then just tuning in using their own talents, their own resources that they all possess, and then using that to help them create changes in their lives. That could
Hmm.
be, if they're classical musician and they know a lot about counterpoint, for instance, or arrangements and the counterpoint in arrangements, like how can they use that principle in their real life, in their relationships, to make maybe harmony happen.
Harmony. How do you make harmony happen?
Well, I guess what is harmony in some ways, right? What is that? Two notes very fond of each other, right? So if you have that in a relationship, how do you create harmony? How do you create it in music?
Hmm.
And can you do the same thing in your own relationship?
I'm laughing because I like very dissonant and atonal experimental music a lot of times. So that's
Mhm.
I guess that's my relationships are dissonant, experimental, atonal.
But you need that. You need dissonance also, right? To make life interesting in Indian music or flamenco. You have dissonant tunes in there. You have dissonant notes. You have those breaks and the hard stops. And that's important as well. It just depends on
Mm,
what you want to create in your life.
that's funny. This is not about me, but I had a memory come up. I used to work at this music conservatory, and early in the morning, I don't know, 7:30, 8, I would sit. There was a place where I could sit off the street, and there was like this little plaza. How do I do this? I guess there was a little, like I'm coming to the little plaza. This is the ground. We're looking at it as if the world has been tilted. So here's the world, and now it's tilted. And so there's these brick buildings surrounding it that are all practice rooms. So I would sit there and just really love hearing violin practice smashing against piano practice, and they're just musicians playing songs, and just it's all smashing together and bouncing off, reverberating off of those brick walls. It was so cool. I was in heaven. I was just so happy to be there. I should have recorded it. I'd be in, well, who knows? Maybe no one would have bought it. Yeah, there's some harmony right there. So, um, yeah. Do you find working with musicians different than everyday Joe, whatever that means, coming in and wanting to find some harmony?
It's difficult to say. I don't think that I would find it different, but I think I can engage them more creatively in some ways. And I try to do that with other people as well, but I think musicians are already in a natural state of being creative.
Got you.
So sometimes they forget that that's a strength, that that is something they can use in their day-to-day lives.
The musicians, you mean?
Yes.
Forget that that's something that they can use. Yeah, I guess it's easy to lose sight of it or take it for granted. The word flow comes up in my mind hearing you speak about that. Because musicians or other creatives, it doesn't necessarily have to be music. Although you focus on dealing with musicians, you're coming out with a book for musicians. What's your focus with that?
My focus for that is utilizing all of the musical abilities and talents, or the way they create or compose music, the way they write lyrics, the way they are on stage, and making all of that more aware and more apparent so they can use it in their daily lives when they come off stage. If they can do it on stage, if you can fight with your band members and then go on stage and play a perfectly great show and nobody notices that, that's a strength. And how
Huh.
can you do that in your relationships with your manager, with your with your partner, with, it's also a book for therapists as well. It has tips for therapists on how to engage the creative state a little bit more pointedly in therapy.
Okay, so let's say that I walk outside and I run into my neighbor who is complaining about bass levels that I was projecting at them, not purposely. I thought I was within my realm. So we so then how would I use that to deal with him? Say.
It all depends, like what we would do in therapy. But if you think about rhythm, right, what kind of rhythm are you creating with the bass levels that you're playing? Bass is rhythm, right? What kind of rhythm are you playing, and how do you hold that rhythm? How do you hold that steady when you talk to your neighbor that is complaining about the rhythm? How do you not follow them?
Mm,
How do you stay in your own state of he's a neighbor, or he's a landlord, or he is somebody complaining, but it's my rhythm? How do I engage him into my rhythm? How
okay.
would you engage a drummer on stage, right? Because you have to, on stage, you have to get along, you have to play that rhythm, you have to support each other, right? How,
Well, there's some harmony, right? Or I guess
yeah,
not. That's more of a unison thing.
how do you do it on stage? Then how would you do it with your neighbor? Instead of
Well,
falling off
yeah.
the rhythm, how do you stay in that rhythm? What do you do on stage? Do you count yourself in the rhythm? Do you feel the rhythm? How do you stay in rhythm? And then how do you do it? How do you do that with the persons in your life?
Well, I guess you can draw from a couple places. Like you can mentally say, okay, my heart's beating fast. I need to slow it down and be a little conscious of it, or even start do some jumping jacks that are in the tempo that you're trying to get to, slower maybe.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, when you introduce whatever element, whether it's tempo or what have you, into the arena of space, say, uh, then you either have a conflict, someone is going to conflict with it, or what usually happens is people lockstep. It's almost like if you do, you see these experiments where people are walking and you can hear their shoes, the heels of their shoes, clamor as they're walking toward the subway, and the other people walking around them, it's like footstep, or I mean lockstep. So like other musicians, like if I'm going to slow down the tempo, I would lock in on what the tempo should be, say, or even something slightly slower, because a lot of times on stage, especially guitar players, are going to want to be a little faster and not in the pocket with like a solid drummer, say, who's going to be at the right tempo, or maybe even more controlled, which sometimes can be a way to intensify the music when it's slightly slower. And then you have all four or six or all the people playing, they're locked. It's almost like their hearts are beating as one.
Exactly. You can count yourself, you can be your own metronome. And how do you do that? So that's what I would help you do.
Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah, I'd rather be a metronome than just like a regular gnome for whatever reason. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Gnomes are. I don't know. Are they overrated or underrated? They should be. I mean, it's Christmas. Aren't gnomes part of the Christmas? They're like the elves to the elves. I don't know. We'll have to look into this on another on our next. But as far as meaningful flow and gentle awareness, would you lead us through a short exercise of
I would love to. I would love to.
maybe we could all close our eyes and dive through the journey of meaningful flow.
Sure. And the first step is to just sit back comfortably wherever you are right now. And you can start by taking a deep breath into your belly and then let go of all of the thoughts in your mind for a moment. And another deep breath into your belly and let go. And one more open, deep breath into your belly. And let go. And then maybe you can become very aware of your feet resting on the ground. And notice the sensations in your feet. And maybe your body can notice the sensations of your hands. And maybe you can feel the temperature of your room on your skin. And you can hear the sound or timbre of my voice. And you can now close your eyes or keep them open for a moment longer. And noticing how everything might become very still right now. And from time to time, you might find a thought appearing or chattering, and that's okay, because you can allow that thought to drift on further into the background right now. Maybe you can recall the image of a private place, a pleasant place in nature. Maybe on the beach or in the mountains. Whatever place, it will be the right place for you right now. And you can feel yourself there and look around, noticing all the colors, all the images. As you feel yourself in that space and place, just right. Your space, your place, a space. There is no wrong and no right, just a space. And you can just be. And in that moment, you can feel light somewhere in your body. And maybe expand that lightness all over you. And this amazing flow of lightness. The way waves dance upon the shore, so light. The way a feather moves through the sky, feather light, just right. Charming and disarming. And while you're in this amazing space, I'll tell you this poem by Rumi. is as the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. What beautiful secrets. Can you discover right now that will help you move forward today and tomorrow? Notice. Don't go back to sleep. Rumi says you must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. So what would you like to create? Really, really want to create more of in your life right now? Don't go back to sleep. Rumi says people are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. How do you walk across your door sill? How do you cross into the day when you come back from the dreams of the night? Where those two worlds touch. Maybe you can invite more of that lightness into that day. And if you're a musician, maybe there's a certain rhythm that you can create in your mind right now that helps you to stay present. Maybe you can feel that rhythm in your body now. Or maybe there is a song that you can sing in your mind that helps you tune into that lightness now, even more. Just notice the flow, the rhythm within you. You can never really fall off a rhythm that is part of you. It's always there. The way you know that the day follows the night follows the day. Just remember to tune in to that rhythm every day. And then you can take an easy breath and another easy breath and another one, and slowly, slowly begin to walk yourself back into the conscious space. Bringing the sensation back into your body, shaking your hands and arms, stretching out, seeing the colors in your room, feeling the temperature and being fully back, relaxed, energized, and ready for the rest of the day or night. Welcome back.
Wow, that was energizing for sure. I felt like that feather floating around.
That's
Very
nice.
nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Very nice. That's pretty cool. Wow. Very cool stuff. I'm glad we captured that. And I didn't put it in the scroll yet, but you have to go to AnitaJung.com. Let me put that there and check out the site. Got some cool stuff going on there. And, the Jung Wellness Institute. Gosh, that was energizing. Thank
And
you so
also
much for that.
check out Musicares or check out CD Baby. I have a few CDs out on the website that have music and guided trance as well as guided meditational type stuff and stories.
Oh,
Thank you,
nice.
David.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again. And yeah, definitely check out Musicares. You'll see them in the Grammys. I feel like I should let me see if I have them up. I should put them up. It wouldn't be right not to. And let me just give them a little, because they're a great organization. Here's their site. Let me do that. And wow, that's a good. And now I can go back and listen to that whenever I want. So that's cool.
That's right.
Definitely cool. Let me put them there as well as here. So here's the Musicares. Here's the Musicares website. I'm going to put it up, and that's what you'll see when you go to their site. So make sure you check them out. I'm going to make them a little bigger there they are. So yeah, check out Musicares. So they're part of the Grammys that do a lot for musicians. And thank you for everything that you do with Musicares and your work with musicians, Anita.
You're welcome.